Never-ending Middle East conflict and Western power. Why the Middle East has been the easy geopolitical target for over 70 years by Western powers. Is it for religion, ethnicity, or it's all about the tussle for controlling the treasure of oil and natural gas resources? In this video, we'll discuss how Western powers have fueled political instability in the Middle East to gain control over the world's most critical energy sector, creating a never-ending cycle of conflict for their vested interests. The Middle East conflict is never-ending because Western powers profit from unstable oil prices. Political instability equals higher prices equals Western corporate profits. This is the energy sector power play behind political instability in the region. In Section 1, we will discuss the historical context. The key points are: post-World War II oil dominance. Following World War II, a small cartel of American and British corporations, the Seven Sisters, controlled 90% of Middle Eastern oil by 1950 through exclusive long-term concession agreements. The 7 companies that dominated the oil reservoirs are Anglo-Persian Oil Company, later renamed British Petroleum or BP; Royal Dutch Shell; Standard Oil of New Jersey, known as Esso, later Exxon; Standard Oil Company of New York, known as Saucony, later Mobil; Standard Oil of California, or Sokol, later Chevron; Gulf Oil, later acquired by Chevron; Texaco, later acquired by Chevron. After World War II, the Middle East held 60% of the world's oil reserves. Western powers couldn't allow local control to impose their supremacy over the world's largest energy sector. When Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, tried to nationalize oil in 1953, the British and American governances orchestrated a coup that installed the Shah. And this pattern of Western intervention followed whenever Middle East countries sought energy independence. 1973, oil crisis. The 1973 oil crisis began in October 1973, when Arab members of OPEC, the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, imposed an embargo against the United States and other nations that supported Israel during the Yom Kippur War. The embargo, combined with production cuts, caused global oil prices to skyrocket from about $3 to nearly $12 per barrel. By hook or by crook, Western powers are fueling instability in Middle East for dominance over the world energy sector. In Section 2, we will discuss how Western powers fuel instability. 3 main mechanisms are armed interventions in Afghanistan in 2001, followed by Iraq in 2003, that destroyed state infrastructure, created fragmentation; the proxy conflicts in Syria, Yemen, and Saudi-Iran rivalry that prevented regional unity on energy. Similarly, the economic sanctions on Iran since 1979 crippled energy sector and forced dependency. The energy sector power play. Key evidence: oil equals political weapon. 4 decades of Middle Eastern history reveals links between political instability and oil developments, supply disruptions, price effects, and destruction of capacity. Investment displacement. Political risk mismanagement is the main barrier to Middle East exploration, hurting production capability while benefiting Western alternatives. Geopolitical risk. Geopolitical turbulence significantly impacts energy security through conflicts, political instability, and terrorism causing supply disruptions. Here's the brutal truth: when the Middle East is unstable, oil prices spike. Western governments claim they want energy security, but they actually want price control. 4 decades of history showing that destruction of oil capacity and relationships between foreign companies and governments are directly linked to political instability. When investors fear Middle East instability, they switch to North American shale. And that is why Western powers creating barriers to protect their own energy markets. Case studies. Iraq since 2003. U.S. invasion claimed terrorism, but oil fields were secured within days. Oil production reopened to Western companies within 2 years. Result: $1 trillion in oil revenue flowed to Western contractors. Iran since 1979. Sanctions specifically targeted oil exports. 80% of Iran's revenue. Prevented Iran from selling to Europe, forcing dependency on China. As a result, regional power weakened, Western oil companies benefited. Syria since 2011. Proxy war between US/Russia/Turkey/Saudi Arabia/Iran. Oil fields in eastern Syria controlled by US forces since 2019. That resulted in no centralized energy policy, continued fragmentation. Iraq's 2003 invasion is the clearest example. President Bush claimed terrorism, But oil fields were secured in 3 days. Within 2 years, Western companies controlled 90% of Iraq's oil production. The foreign companies' and governments' relationships directly correlate with instability. Iran faces sanctions specifically targeting oil, 80% of their revenue. This isn't about human rights. It's about preventing a regional energy power that could challenge Western dominance. The modern reality. Latest developments. 2026. On February 28, 2026, U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict escalation intensified geopolitical tensions. United Nations analysis says global energy fault line exposed. Dependence on fossil fuels from conflict zones strengthens renewable transition case. Geopolitical turbulence reshaping global energy markets, pushing prices higher following its impact on market. In 2026, the pattern continues. Since February 28, 2026, U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict escalation has intensified Middle East tensions, reshaping global energy markets. The UN now admits this crisis exposes a central vulnerability, dependence on fossil fuels from conflict zones. But Western powers aren't transitioning to renewables quickly. They're maintaining the instability that keeps oil prices high and their energy companies profitable. The solution isn't more military intervention. It's transitioning to renewable energy and ending the oil dependency that fuels this conflict. The UN's case for faster renewable transition is stronger than ever.